might have. Just briefly, the Hemet Station covers a large geographic area. We cover about 850 square miles. We provide criminal jurisdiction to 4 Indian tribes. The Saboba Indian Reservation down in the valley, and the tribes that are up on the hill, Kuya, Ramona, and Santa Rosa. We are a diverse and busy place. We cover a lot of different areas and territories and communities, all with their own unique issues and challenges. As I was listening to Captain Kenner about the traffic, and I do drive through this area. I live in Temecula, and I find all the different ways to navigate back and forth between Temecula and my station. And I see all the things that you guys see. The volume of traffic, the speed of traffic. I wish there was a magic way to make all that better. CHP is a great job, and they do everything they can. But the truth is that people just drive too fast in this regard, and it's unfortunate. But I will continue to be an ongoing effort from the CHP. I have deputies who are assigned to this particular area. I know one of the main topics for the area out here is marijuana, has been and continues to be. I would like to introduce a couple of my partners. Lieutenant James Roy. James was formerly a sergeant who supervised the sheriff's marijuana enforcement team. As most of you, if you've been out for a while, you've seen him at these meetings. You also know that he and his team was very, very active and continue to be very active out in this area and taking down the illegal marijuana grows that negatively impact the communities out here. And as a captain of the Hemet Station, I was very grateful for those efforts, and so I thank him for that. James recently promoted to lieutenant, and he's assigned to the Hemet Station, and I'll share a little bit more about some of what's going on there. I'd like to also introduce Sergeant Frank Rice. Frank is now the new sergeant who oversees the marijuana enforcement team, and I'm sure he'll have some information to share with you. Recently, just share a couple of things with you about the patrol operations out of the Hemet Station. Recently, Sheriff Bianco mandated that we start having more manager coverage, lieutenant coverage in the evening hours. We moved aggressively. His direction was that we move aggressively to have lieutenant coverage 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at all our patrol stations countywide. And with that mandate, where I only had 1 lieutenant previously, I now have 4, and they are married up to the patrol shifts. And now you have a lieutenant watch commander who's on duty 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to help provide that managerial level of oversight, which really was time. It was time for us to do that and move in that direction. I was very pleased to see the sheriff give that directive to all of us and then give us the resources that we needed. And to the Board of Supervisors' credit, authorized us to promote and hire those additional lieutenant positions and push them out into the patrol stations where we need them to be, right? Where we have them in the field and available and helping our first-line supervisors, our sergeants, right, who are still out there. But they bring another level of analysis, another level of professionalism and scrutiny over the things that we do, right? Many of the things that we do, right? The reality is for us, there's potential liability attached to everything that we do or don't do, how we do it, how often we do it. And so having a manager in the field to help with some of those more critical decision makings, I think would be very beneficial for us, and not just for us as an organization, but also for all of you as the taxpayers, right? As we always look to find ways to do our job better, to mitigate liability, so that we, to the extent that it's possible, decrease the times that we're being sued for the things that we're doing, right, and trying to keep our community safe. So that's just that actually just took place here in October, and I'm happy to share that with you. And so rather than me drone on, I guess I would throw it out to you if you have any particular questions or concerns or issues that you'd like to address with me. I'm happy to take questions. Oh man, everybody's happy. Yes, sir.
How can we report marijuana, illegal marijuana growth that does not have acceptance?
Okay, we're gonna do this. How many have questions about marijuana? Besides this gentleman. Anybody look, I'm gonna circle back around to marijuana, so I'm gonna pass this over to Frank and let him, because this is gonna be his area, and James is certainly your full subject matter experts in this, and they can answer this question. Does anybody have a different question? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I believe you were out there before.
Yes.
Uh,
No, I didn't inform.
Okay, so my apologies.
It's okay.
At the time, so was the officer over there, and it was stated that there was only, we have so many staff. I think it was two sheriffs at any one given time for this area, and because of cutbacks, in this case, I think the last time you guys were out there. And understanding what you guys do, has that changed? Has that number increased? Because we're talking about you guys trying to increase the number of officers, patrolling officers.
Yeah, well, I would, so the level of staffing, right, is decided by the board of supervisors in agreement with the sheriff. We come up with a number of what that should look like. What I will tell you is that the actual staffing for the Hammett station is better now than historically it's ever been. And so when the sheriff was first elected, he did commit to the mountain community. So I allowed Pineville, Mount San, all of those. What was happening prior to this was you had one or two deputy sheriffs in the valley who were responsible for covering all 850 square miles. And it's just an impossible task. And it's an impossible task to do safely, and it just really was not workable. These guys did a heroic job trying to do that. So what we have now, in contrast, is on the mountain we have the Lake Hammett mountain station. We have two deputy sheriffs who are on duty all the time with their supervisor. On the valley floor, we have a sergeant and three deputies. That's our minimum staffing. And then now with the lieutenant coverage as well. So, truthfully, is that we are better positioned today as far as staffing is concerned out of the station than we have ever been. Is it perfect? No, it's not. But we are way better today. Yeah. And Captain Penner kind of touched on this. So we are all kind of suffering from the same thing right now as far as recruitment is concerned. Trying to find viable candidates. We literally will screen thousands of people to in a year to graduate maybe 200 from the campus, different academies. That's just the nature of our work. There's so much that goes into the hiring process and the background and the polygraph and the psych and the physical and all these things all these metrics that these candidates have to pass just to get an offer of employment. And then there's no guarantee that they're actually going to graduate from the academy, right? So we roll the dice and we give them all the help that they need. We hope that they get through that. And then once they complete that, there's no guarantee that they're ever going to make it off the patrol training. Because as my partner would tell you, we've seen this lots of times where academically people do very, very well in the classroom setting in these controlled environments, and then you put them in that black and white and push them out into the real world where things are happening very quickly, right? Where you have to be able to process information, you have to make critical decisions, and they don't do well in that environment. That's not a knock on them. It's really a difficult job to do. So we're all kind of in the same boat right now, trying to recruit people, and I don't know, you guys have probably seen that being a police officer right now is not necessarily really popular or anything. So we're fighting through that as well. But again, back to your question, as far as our current staffing levels, way better position today than we've ever been.
How do they kidnap a last name? Two license plate readers went up on State Road and they either were taken down by the community, taken down some other way. They were quick, one went up, they are gone today. So I'm wondering, is the community taking them down? Are we going to get them back? I used to be against them. I'm no longer. I think they're very important. So I'm just wondering what the situation is.
No, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked that. Does everybody know what she's referring to? So the ALPR camera, right, automatic license plate readers, we contract with a vendor called Flock Camera Systems. We're not unique that way. We have agencies all over California, specifically in Southern California, who contract with them and replace these cameras all over the place. How many cameras do you think we have right now across the county? Hundreds. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these cameras. There's one thing I want to throw out, because I know a lot of that can't freak some people out again. Oh my gosh, what are you capturing? So know this about the cameras. Cameras are designed to capture just the license plates of the vehicle front and rear. They are not trained to capture who's in the vehicle, right? It does capture obviously the date and time that a particular car will move past the company, right? That information is contained in the database and it can only be held for 30 days and then it automatically deleted, right? We only use that system for criminal investigations. To answer your question specifically is that we have been the recipient of a lot of vandalism related to these cameras. And quite honestly, if I'm just being blunt about it, it's the criminal element and who moves either resides in this area or moves through this area who understand what this camera is and they are targeting those cameras. And we are working with our vendor and trying to come up with a way to safeguard those cameras. They are an invaluable tool for us. So to give you guys an example, where a car that was maybe associated with a homicide and an armed robbery in Los Angeles County comes by one of those, that plate is entered into that system, and that car goes by one of these cameras, it immediately sends out an alert to every single police officer, deputy sheriff that's in the field that has access to the system to say, hey, that car that was used in LA is now northbound Sage. And allows us to immediately mobilize our resources, helicopter overhead, additional patrol units, we get set up, and then we're able to get contact with them.
Why not ask the public to put some of these cameras in their yard? So we would see it get there, they're safe there.
Yeah, these cameras are not cheap. They're, I would have to explore that a little bit, but these cameras are very, very expensive.
Or they usually stick clips or it.
Yeah, that's part of the problem, and I think some of the challenges that we're running into. So, in a more urban environment, let's say in Temecula, right, where you have the infrastructure that's in place, and you have the light standards and the signals, right? You can attach these cameras to that and really know somebody there in populated areas. The problem we have out here is that the company comes out and they'll put up a pole, which is really not very robust, to be honest. And I think some of that has to do with transportation requirements that you can't have something too robust in case a car hits it. And so they become very vulnerable. So we're working with our vendor right now, trying to come up with some ideas about how we might improve their safety and their longevity out here because they're really, really valuable. They have helped us solve a lot of crime. Yes, sir. The string and 10 pounds. That's solid plan. We're going to go with it. That's an excellent question. I mean, to the extent that's possible. So
we actually, I don't know if you're aware of this, but my mind, this is the Riverside County now, and I'm so happy it's taking so long to get this done. All I got to do is hit number 3 here. That's where my save is, and I'm on Southwest Sheriff Station. So, no, but I can talk to you guys. And then during the fires, what I did is I called the Southwest captain, and there was some confusion about who can go in and who can go out. Because I don't know which level was below the captain level. The sheriff said, hey, you can let people in. But when I called their captain, he said no, so then we get that word out. And all things we've learned from the past.
Yeah, so we'll stay with Motorola. They're our vendor, and definitely really aggressively to stand up this system so that we can all be integrated and share the radio channels and be able to communicate with each other particularly these instances that you're talking about, it's just for